Hello and welcome to Firestorm Games, and in this video we'll be taking a look at some of the latest Stormcast Eternal releases, the Vanguard Palladors and also the Lord Aquilor as well. So let's kick things off by looking at the Palladors. So first of all we have the Palladors, and we get 3 in the box as you can see from the front here. And flipping this box over we can see some closer examples of some of the equipment and weapons that these Griff Riders are carrying. We also get some slight painting guides as well. So let's open up this box and take a look at the contents inside. So here we have the instruction booklet for the Palladors, and this shows you very clearly how to assemble your Stormcast Eternals. Everything is numbered and very well laid out. You can see all the components have got an individual number, and that associates with their numbering on the sprue, so you know exactly which sprue piece goes where. Also, these components also have these yellow highlights, which makes it a lot easier when gluing them, because you know exactly which areas of the miniature you should apply glue, and they're going to be the contact points, and going to make basically prevent you from applying more glue than is necessary. It gives you a few options for showing you how to assemble both the axe and also the javelins as well. And then we also get right at the back here we get the war scroll for actually using these in the game. So that's the instructions looked at. Let's move on to the sprues themselves. Now here we have one of the first sprues, and we have 3 sprues altogether, with each sprue making 1 charger and 1 rider. And on here you can see the sprue is pretty much dominated by these charger components that we've got at the top here. Very nice detailing in the feathers indeed, and the actual components themselves are made up of the body, the legs, and also the head as well, come in the main parts, and just additional items are added on. One thing you will notice, which is an excellent feature about the set, is that the actual riders aren't sculpted onto the saddles, which means you can paint these separately. It's always great when Games Workshop do things like that. It's annoying when they actually sculpt things into, it makes conversions and painting a lot more tricky. Now this sprue is absolutely chock full of additional items and equipment. It's really fitting for these Vanguard characters that operate well ahead of the regular Stormcast Eternal armies and very rarely return to their own home base and survive in the wild. So we've got things like grappling hooks, additional axes there, we've got some bedrolls, lots of fur items as well. You can see on the cloak here, we've got this full fur cloak as animal hide. Very much a theme running across these sprues. So that's the first one looked at. Let's move on to the second. So this sprue is pretty much the same as the first. You have the 2 Griff Charger components there. Again, the poses are actually quite static, as you can see. You can't really change the positioning of the legs or the arms. So once you've running quite a few of these, you'll find yourself with very repetitive poses after a while. But this sprue contains some of the weapons that we've got on here as well. So you can see we've got the javelins, we've got a blade, a stowed blade, we've got a hand axe in hand there. Again, we've got things like the fur cloaks, we've got other items such as bedrolls on the sprue as well, and also these grappling hooks. One thing you'll notice across the sprue, as well as the animal pelts, there's a lot of lion iconography. So you can see we've got this lion head that's on the actual shoulder pad itself, and if I just focus on one of the heads, you can see we've also got a lion head on the top. In addition to the helmeted heads, we also get some bear heads in the sprue as well. You can see there, you've got a bear head there, which is quite nice if you kind of view Stormcast as being mortal bodies such as they are in armor, as opposed to kind of these spirits that inhabit this armor. So if you want to add more of a human element to your Stormcast Eternals, this sprue has got you covered. So let's move on to the third and final sprue from this box set. Now the third and final sprue is much the same as some of the other ones we've seen. So we've got the staff here, we've got the grappling hook and the rope. We've got lots of a similar kind of aesthetics as the previous sprues. But one thing I haven't touched on yet is the Bolt Storm pistol that we've got holstered here. Now these are very much the Age of Sigmar equivalent of bolt pistols. They're very large and chunky, and pretty much yeah, pretty much going to be a Age of Sigmar bolt pistol there. So that's all of the 3 sprues looked at. Let's get some of these assembled and taken a look at. So this brings us to the second item in this video we'll be looking at, which is of course the Lord Aquilor, who is also riding a large Griff as well. But this is a lot larger than the ones that we've already seen previously, and this is obviously denoting the fact that this is the leader. On the back here we have some better pictures, some options. You can see we've got the difference between the helmeted head and the bear head, and also some of the weapon close-ups as well. And we also have a quick paint guide at the bottom also. So let's open this box up and take a look at the contents inside. So here we have the instruction booklet for the Lord Aquilor. Much like the Palladors, all the components are individually numbered, and we have this really nice clear diagram showing you how to build the miniature. And also at the right at the back here, if I just flick forward a little bit, we also get the rules themselves for using the Lord Aquilor, and right at the back we have this handy painting guide showing you exactly which areas have been painted with which colours. So let's move on to the sprues. So here we have the first sprue of the Lord Aquilor. Now this contains a much larger griff charge, and that'll become more apparent when I assemble them both and you can see them side by side. So here we have lots of lion iconography. Again, we've got the shoulder pad here with the lion iconography. We've got some fur pelts again. We've also got the leg sculpted onto the actual griff charger himself, which is great that it wasn't like this on the Palladors, but unfortunately they decided to sculpt it on to the Aquilor, which is unfortunate because it will make it a little bit more difficult to paint at the later stages. But again, we've got lots of items we've already seen pretty much on the Pallador sprues. We've got the ropes here, we've got the bedrolls, but much like the previous set, we also have a bear head as well. Now, I'm not sure I'm quite so keen on the top knot style here. It reminds me a lot of the Chaos, the Khorne Marauders. It's more like a very tribal style. I would prefer maybe more of a clean cut hairstyle instead. So let's move on to the second sprue. The second sprue contains more of the griff charger. You can see here we've got the actual head itself and more of the actual the Lord Aquilor himself. You can see we've got the fur cloak on the back here. Again, continuing the theme of these characters operating in the wilds for long periods of time. We also get a helmeted head here with this large kind of ray effect emanating from the helmet, and again a couple more shoulder pauldrons there to use as well. So that's the sprues looked at. Let's get this Lord Aquilor assembled. So that concludes my look at the Vanguard Palladors and also the Lord Aquilor for the Stormcast Eternals. Overall, I really like the aesthetics of these miniatures. I kind of like the fact that they're essentially the Stormcast cavalry, but then you've got a little bit of a twist on them. It keeps in the theme that we've seen with the Griffhounds previously, and also it expands on the Vanguard chamber that we've already seen releases for in the past. It gives us the Stormcast a different kind of feel. They're not quite just the regular very vanilla force. They've got a little bit more backstory to them. These are the wildland hunters. These operate ahead of their main armies and can operate in the wild for long periods at a time. Both sets have their good and bad points. For example, the Palladors are excellent because the riders come completely separate from their mounts, which means it makes it a lot easier to paint them, but then it's also bad because the actual Lord Aquilor has them sculpted on. And we're also quite limited in the poses that we get on these sets as well. And as I briefly touched upon before, you have a couple of weapon and head options you can swap out, but beyond that the poses are pretty static and we're going to get very samey very quickly. However, they are superbly detailed and very easy indeed to build. The instructions are very, very clear and all the components are individually numbered, showing you exactly where they need to go on the miniature. So if you're interested in starting your own Vanguard force and would like to pick up some Palladors and the Lord Aquilor, you can head on over to the Firestorm Games web store. Now the RRP of the Palladors is £35, but it's available on Firestorm for £31.50, and the Aquilor is an RRP of £25, but it's available for £22.50. And I'll pop a link in the description below, which will take you directly to both those items in the Firestorm Games web store. So all that's left to say is thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again on Firestorm Games.